beyond the obvious. And today I have my special guest, a political consultant as well as an author and the author of the book Say You Want to Win a Local Election.
Yep.
Not other than Mr. Josh Ward.
Well, thank you for having me, Daniel. Yeah, the book, it's like having a campaign manager in your back pocket now. It's too big. It's going to take like 10 and 410 pages. But,
Hmm.
the ebook on Amazon, it's only $29.95. The full print color book is a lot more expensive because it's expensive to print color stuff. But I decided to put all my campaign knowledge again, 75% positive track record. I've gotten the Kent County Sheriff, State's Attorney, and Coroner elected, among many others. Kent County, straight west, 50 miles straight west of Chicago.
Hmm.
And I put it all down. It's funny, a good friend of mine at the time, he was the Kent County Treasurer, said, Jeff, I'm really afraid that when you put this book out, you're going to give away all our secrets. And I'm like, Dave, nobody's going to listen. And that's the truth.
Uh-huh.
This is the key to
Nobody.
the kingdom, right down to how you get signs into frozen ground.
Hmm.
And nobody listens. But anyway, it was a lot of fun writing the book. I continue. Um, I have a book. Well, maybe you'll let me uh, promote an impending book near the end when we're almost done. But
Hmm.
you're the host. Why don't you start the conversation?
Yes, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Mr. Job. Thank you for the secret that you shared to us. So far, so long disclaimer. Your title suggests, well, what's the single most important question persons should themselves before declaring candidacy? To know if they are
Oh,
cut or out for the brutal reality is not just an idea.
it is. The most important question you can ask is, why am I running?
Mm.
And if you can't answer that question, and you would be shocked at how many people can't answer it. Oh, excuse my allergies, Daniel. Can't answer it
Yes, no
or
worries.
answer it really poorly.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite one, of course, is, well, I'm retired. My wife wants me out of the house. Not a good reason. Now, that said, there was a Louisiana candidate, I forget what for, who actually won using that humorously. Humor is very dangerous in politics, but this guy did it great. But why am I running? It's my turn. I want to do. No, no, you're running because you love the community that you've been a part of for X years and you want to give back. You're running because the county board needs fresh voices and I plan on being one of them. You're running because our current representation just isn't working out and I think I can do better. That's why you're running. Anything else, I mean, running is brutal and it's getting more brutal and it's getting brutal down at the lower levels, which was never the case. If you don't know why you're running, it's going to be a really tough road.
A brutal indeed. So the why that wins versus the why that loses. Every candidate has the why. What are the hallmarks of a motivating campaign? Defining why that resonates versus self-indulgence and
Well,
vagues of what dooms
like
it
I
from the
said,
start.
if you're the why has to involve serving the people. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that doesn't always work out that way. But from your county board member, your state rep, state senate, right on down to the alderman here in Geneva, Illinois. I'm running
Oh.
because I want to serve my constituents. That's the only good reason. There are variations on that theme, but that works. But it's my turn. I don't have anything better to do. I mean, we had a guy run for two offices here, and it was very low offices that very few people ran for. And he figured if he won both, he could pick which one. Not, and he did win both. Not not a good reason. So it's got to revolve around your love of your community, your love of the people. You want to give back. You want to represent your constituents more effectively. Those are the right reasons. And if you
Mm-hmm.
don't have that basis, you could still win. I mean, we got Donald Trump, But national politics is still different. You can still
Hmm.
win, but it's not going to be a lot of fun serving.
Well, that is an empowering answer, Master. And beyond name recognition, what are the less obvious structural advantages of incumbent has the challenger absolutely must have to plan to neutralize?
Once you get beyond the why, now it really boils, and especially at the local level, especially, county board, those can be races of attrition. The alderman can be. Um, in Illinois, when you get up to state senate and state rep, now you have J.B. Pritzker, our governor, money coming in, and it's a totally different.
Hmm.
Well, and that's changing if we have time to talk about it. And it's not changing for the better. Big money is now infesting small town mayoral races. But the other thing is impressions. Just like, internet impressions. How many clicks did your column get? How many hits? Because, and that's where the incumbent almost always starts off with a huge advantage. In between those two, the next biggest question is, can I win this race? And a lot of times there are unbeatable incumbents, and I'll use a story, but it's impressions. Who ever gets the most impressions, whether it's through yard signs, mailers, appearances, there's all sorts of ways of doing it, tends to win.
Mm.
And a good example of unbeatable candidates was George Pradle, the late George Pradle. Sadly, George has passed on. The mayor of Naperville, Illinois, for years, and he oversaw Naperville, which has grown immensely. It has managed that growth incredibly well. It's a go-to destination in the western suburbs for, all dining and all sorts of stuff. But George was officer friendly. George was a Naperville police officer, and he was officer friendly. And all those children he visited in all those grammar schools grew up, stayed in Naperville, and became voters. George couldn't lose. There were people that came up against him. I think some spent six figures. I mean, and Naperville is, it's the largest true suburb. Aurora's larger, but it's not a suburb. And, George would line him up and shoot him down. George is the kind, he would greet people in the grocery store. He would wave to you from the street and honk. The last 5K I did, that I'm getting back in shape to do more, was at Granger Middle School in Naperville. And George happened to be passing by, and he parked, grabbed the awards from the race organizers. I had won third in my age group, and started passing them out. That's how I met George Pradle. I'd written about him, but I'd never met him. And George figures prominently in parts of the book. Impressions. Nobody could beat George Pradle. So to kind of back up a little bit, you don't want to run if there's a very popular incumbent in that people are happy with, because it's really going to be difficult. You can run if you want to make a name for yourself for another run. Again, impressions. But the incumbent starts off, generally will start off with more impressions. The question is, are they good or bad? Early on, they're typically good. I mean, the mayor of Batavia, his only job he's ever had, and he's a terrible mayor, is mayor of Batavia, and he's 12 terms. The mayor of Geneva is almost as bad, and he's had 5 or 6 terms. That's the sad reality. Now, if the right candidate had run against either one of them, they would have lost this round. But we're also, in addition, for some odd reason, you'd think with all the left and right wing, the partisan bickering going on, you'd think more people would want to run. It's not the case. Less people are running.
So, what are the minimum viable resources in terms of committed inner circles, seed money, the personal time, runaway someone needs in the bank on day one to be taken seriously, even at the hyperlocal level?
2 years ago, Daniel, if you asked me that question, I could have rattled off the answer.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's not so easy, because as you and I spoke when we talked about my appearance here, big money is infesting small town mayoral races. St. Charles, Illinois, that's the city. I can almost see it from my house here in Geneva. Ray Rogina, a teacher, retired teacher, won the St. Charles mayoral race, I want to say in 2021. No, that was his second term. That'd be in 2017, spending $13,500. He had a decent candidate. The other candidates spent about the same amount. But the point is, you could, with a minimum of money and reasonable fundraising, nothing crazy, aim at a job that probably pays $15,000 to $20,000 a year, between being
Mhm.
mayor and liquor commissioner, and you had a real shot. And Ray was a reasonable mayor. Well, you know, Laura Vitek was the followed Ray, and she didn't. I think she spent $20,000 when she ran against a longtime St. Charles family. But now let's fast forward to 2025, when a former friend of mine, a former prosecutor and judge who's now mayor, raised $98,000 to run for mayor and outspent his opponent $85,000 to $40,000 for a job that pays $17,000 a year. That is really putting a damper on regular people running. Mr. Hull and I had Mayor Hull, I guess I should say, and I had words over that because we've been friends for 20 years. We are friends no longer. In this case, the fact that this gentleman made his career on the backs of the public, as a prosecutor and a judge, and then he leveraged the connections that we paid for to subvert the local election process. It's absurd. So, we are into the Chicago collar counties, Kane, Will, DuPage, Kendall, and it's a little crazier in Illinois. Still, in most places, you can get elected mayor or alderman spending under $10,000. Well under. In my book, I talk about mom. You need your mom to win a local election. You need a message. That's another critical thing. What's your message? A local, the last Geneva Challengers message was, I support Geneva residents. You may as well just say, I don't suck. It doesn't resonate. So message, organization. It either means you have to be organized and know what to do, know how to walk, know which voters to target. The book covers that extensively. Or have a reasonable organization behind you to help you out. Nothing. There is no substitute for. Oh, I thought I turned that down. There's no substitute for the voter knocking on doors. Those impressions. The second M stands for money or time. And like you said, either you need money, and when you're coming up against a candidate who's going to spend almost six figures, you need money. However, that same treasurer we discussed a bit early, Dave Rickert, who's moved on to the private sector, he actually won a countywide race spending less than $20,000 because he tirelessly knocked on doors. The key is knowing which ones to knock on. So you still can't do it, but it's getting more and more difficult. I'm hoping there's going to be a backlash against these, quote, public servants who come in, spend a ton of money, and you really wonder, and Clint Hull, the mayor of St. Charles, got quite a few donations, 10,000, well, 4,999 plus 4,999, from the owner of a local dealership that's not well regarded and the dealership itself. When you're into a business for 10 grand, are you going to be fair? That's not the way the local, the small town, even the medium town. But St. Charles is what, 26,000 people? Geneva, Illinois, 22. Batavia, 29. These are still small towns. Most of us have met our aldermen. We've met the mayor. But it's getting tougher. Message, you got to have a good message. Had I been, and I asked the Geneva candidate if he wanted me as his campaign manager, my message would have been, it's time for a change. It's that simple. Organization. Again, you have to either Be organized or have people behind you to help you get your message out and get impressions. But again, nothing substitutes for the candidate knocking on doors. And I don't know about in your state, Daniel, but here in Illinois, we have even year elections, which, the big ones, governor, state Senate, U.S. Senate, U.S. representative. And then we have consolidated elections, which take place in the odd years. And right now, if this is 2026, so there's none this year. But if there were, you'd have to be out walking in what is forecasted to be average high of 15 for the next 10 days. That's the way it is. It's a little bit better for even year candidates who mostly campaign in the summer and fall.
So, Mr. Jeff, in the age of social media, what is the most seductive but ultimately useless vanity metric the first time candidates waste time and money on, and the metric should they obsess over instead?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, social media used to be absolutely meaningless. Absolutely. I mean, I would tell people, look, have a campaign page, put happy stuff out. Here's
Mm.
the candidate meeting with school children or reading to school children. Here's the candidate talking to people at the local grocery store. Here's the candidate coming out of church, talking with his constituents. That's what social media was good for. Well, then COVID hit. And COVID changed everything because you couldn't knock on doors. I mean, we won't get into my thoughts on COVID. I mean, I used to be considered a classic Evanston, Illinois liberal, but they've moved the goalpost so far. Now I'm a raging liberal. Uh, so, oh crap, where were we, Daniel?
Well, about social
Oh,
media,
there we go.
but
Thank you. Sorry, I
yeah,
went off track. Social
no
media
worries.
became far more important in the age of in the age COVID age and the post COVID age. And so it's a little different. But here's the thing: nothing good can happen on social media in an election. Nothing good. Another mistake candidates tend to make is I can make one grand sweeping gesture and I'll win. I see it all the time. The local MAGA version of the Kane County Republican Party thought they were going to defeat mediocre Democratic County chairman because they had, as in their words, we have enough on her that we could get a dog elected. Ha! Didn't work out for him. Didn't work out for him. There isn't one or two things that can win you an election. It is a overall well balanced, well run campaign. But there is one thing that can lose you the election, and it's like getting caught, doing something you shouldn't be doing. That'll do it outright. Not as much anymore, but still. And the other one is making a really stupid statement on social media. And candidates get so egotistical. A good friend of mine, a political operative, says that when a candidate throws their hat in the ring, they automatically forfeit a third of their brain cells. I think it's closer to 2/3. And, they start doing stupid things. There's two things you should delegate to somebody else as a local candidate. One, being your campaign treasurer. Now, every state has different laws. I'm talking about Illinois and most of the Rust Belt states. Because if you make a mistake, they're going to go after you. If your treasurer makes a mistake, they're a citizen volunteer. It's not that big a deal. The second thing is have a friend, not a family member. I'm sorry for getting loud. I get excited. Not a family member run your social media, because you really can't be blocking people unless they get abusive. But I mean, it don't same reason you don't. If you're a woman and you're running for alderman, don't have your husband knock on doors for you, because inevitably what's going to happen is somebody who hates politicians is going to tear into your wife as the worst thing since Joe Stalin. And what's your initial reaction? What's your initial response? To push back. Now you've got you going after a voter for being an idiot, which is what they are, on the Ring doorbell tape. And it's all over social media. So no, have a friend who is mentally well balanced run your social media so they don't react to the crap. Now, the
Mm.
crap is almost always immaterial. It's going to happen. It's the reaction. Do you watch football at all, Daniel?
Sometimes,
Well,
but yes, I do.
it's always there's the guy that pushes the guy,
Yes.
but it's always the guy that pushes back that gets caught.
True.
And he gets the 15-yard penalty for unsportsmanlike conduct. And he
Mhm.
can moan and complain as much as he wants, but the ref didn't see the original hit. So, no, social media is exceedingly dangerous. It has become necessary, but have somebody else do it. All social media in the end should be, don't make grand pronouncements about your platform because somebody's not going to like it. Right?
Yes.
Don't attack anyone or you're going to get attacked back. It's the happy candidate engaged with the happy populace. That's all social media is good for. That's a great question, by
Definitely.
the way.
Thank you. So, to bring it home, what is the most hilarious, horrifying, or profoundly dumb thing you ever witnessed a candidate campaign do, and what the vital lessons does it reach?
Okay. Ooh. I mean, most of the mistakes aren't horrific. The most horrific one, though, and this came around again. Having I am manic about being sure that the people I recommend or the people printers do the right thing, and it's so easy for them to get confused. So to this day, Daniel, when I get mail, which we all do, I don't know why I said it that way. When I get mail, I notice right away if something's off. I just noticed that we got the wrong mailer from a chain of car repair stores and told the franchises. But the worst one was now, what state are you in, Daniel?
Pardon?
What
What
state?
day?
What are you in the United States?
Yes. No, I'm in Canada.
Oh, okay. Okay. Even Canada's getting a little nutty. The Toronto mayor, Rob, whatever. But
No comment.
yeah, folks, I hope you don't mind, but I hate
No
to do
worries.
this, but all right. The worst thing that ever happened along those lines is now I'm in Geneva, Illinois,
Okay.
456 miles west of Chicago. I
Okay.
got a mailer for a candidate that was running for state senate in a district around East St. Louis. Now, as you might imagine, there's quite a distance between Chicago, Illinois, and St. Louis, Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
And when I tried to point out to that candidate that, having your mailers go to Geneva, Illinois isn't going to get you elected. I mean, that is the most egregious. I've seen, mailers from DeKalb County, which is the next one to the west of us, come here in Kane County. That's a minor, I mean, it has the same effect, but it's a minor mistake. Somebody probably got a zip code number off one or two. But in this case, the guy had his mailers coming 600 miles away. And when I called the candidate to say, dude, man, you got to do something about this, he sicked his MAGA campaign manager on me, who tore me a new one. that is the worst. And I just gave it right back to him. And when his candidate lost big time, there was a really funny email that went out to him. But that is the worst. The the, what are some of the minor mistakes? In a county board race, no, countywide race for circuit clerk, that's the court clerk, and treasurer. Um, the two candidates severed ties with a controversial but still very popular county board chairman. And it was when the anti-Trump votes started coming in, and they both lost by about 2,000 votes. That might not have happened had they run correctly. And I tried to convince them. I tried to convince them to run as a slate as well, which I don't usually do. But again, times are changing. Trump, MAGA politics is filtering down locally. So that was a mistake. The one I see all the time, and I don't even think of it as a mistake, is
Mm.
targeting the wrong voters. Oh, Kyle Seifert. Kyle Seifert was running for Elgin City Council. Elgin is the seventh biggest city in Illinois. We've got Elgin and Aurora in Kane County, the second and seventh biggest cities. And Kyle was an optimist. I was doing a radio show at the time called Warden Jones. We had Kyle on, and Kyle was like, I am not going to look at mailing. I am not going to look at voter rolls. I am not going to have anyone put up signs for me. I'm not going to have any donations. I am going to knock on every door, whether the people vote or not. And Larry, my co-host, and I said, Kyle, while we appreciate your vivid vision, your eternal optimism, you know what we call people like you? Losers. Kyle came in 9th place out of 10. And I'm shocked he didn't come in 10th place. So you have to target people who vote. And it's really easy to do. All you got to do is go to your local election authority. For most of us here in the United States, it's our county clerk. And for a pittance, you can get people that voted in the same election 4 years ago. That's your target. You don't want to, it's like, for Victoria's Secret sending me one of their catalogs. Well, it's fun to look at, but I'm not going to be buying women's underwear. I mean, maybe there are some men who do for themselves. And I wouldn't even attempt to buy it for my wife. That's just it. It's like, you've got to be in front of people. You've got to put yourself in front of people that are most likely to vote. And by the way, that can make a daunting election far easier when you realize how few people vote in these local elections. So yeah, that's the biggest mistake, was the mailer from East St. Louis. The biggest mistake on a regular basis is not correctly targeting voters.
So, Mr. Jeff, to wrap up our discussion for today, for someone listening who is on the fence about running for that school board or city council seat, what is your final brutally honest piece of encouragement and warning?
Read my book. I have had about 10 people say your book was worth every penny because it talked me out of running. If you're not sure, like I said, if your husband or wife doesn't want you to run, don't. So that's the truth. So you want to win a local election, buy the ebook, $29.95 on Amazon. Campaign Manager in your back pocket. It talks about everything you and I talked about, Daniel, in far greater depth. And it's written in an outline format. Don't read it cover to cover. Read the section that applies to you right now.
Yes, read the chapter that applies to you, people.
Yes. Don't overwhelm yourself.
Yeah, step by step. Baby steps, people, baby steps. So, Mr. Jeff, can you please invite our listeners to support your book, your advocacy, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
Well, right now, the book, of course, is available on Amazon. So you want to win a local election. As we speak, my literary agent is sending my next book out to publishers. So I have an agent, which is a good thing. That book, Daniel, is called Presumed Guilty, My Life at the Center of the Unabomber Investigation. And yes, the FBI and specifically the ATF thought I was the Unabomber for 18 years. If you want to listen to my story in the meantime, I would suggest you go to the Project Unabomb podcast, UNABOM. There's no B at the end. That's the way the FBI did it. And episode 3, Roll the Dice, you can hear me in all my foul-mouthed glory describing what happened to us. So my fondest wish is that book gets picked up. I think it will. And once it does, it should hit the shelves. And, it takes time, a couple of years. And again, if you need campaign consulting, set it down. Ben! Sorry about that. He knows I'm on a podcast. If you need campaign consulting, no matter where you are, I'm happy to talk to anyone. And again, you can get a hold of me at Jeff N, as in Noel, Jeff N Ward at Comcast.net. Email me. I'm happy to talk to anyone.
Yes, people, let's about Mr. Jeff Ward, because if you support him for sure, more and more empowering advocacy like this to rise. So, Mr. Jeff, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Daniel. And those were great questions. I love the questions you asked.
Thank you so much.
I can't believe we covered so much in a half hour.
Yes, definitely. More to come, people. See you soon.
Thank you for having me, Daniel.
Likewise.